as preferred option. US Central Command says it disabled a tanker in Gulf of Oman after crew allegedly defied warnings and tried to run over blockade. Iran condemns Ukrainian strike on commercial vessel in Caspian Sea, warns Kiev of retaliatory consequences. Car plows into crowd near Berlin Pride celebrations, killing one and injuring dozens. Driver remains on the run as police intensify manhunt. Home Minister Amit Shah says BJP places nation, youth and students above positions as Dharmendra Pradhan steps down as Education Minister amid nationwide protests over NEET-UG paper leak controversy. Andhra Pradesh reports 10 new COVID cases, taking the total number of active and recorded cases to 49 now. Number of confirmed Ebola cases in Democratic Republic of Congo rises to 3,075, with over 1,300 deaths as outbreak continues to spread in the country. India says it will continue talks with the US to finalize a bilateral trade agreement despite Washington's new 10% tariff on some Indian imports. The government says key exports, including pharmaceuticals as well as smartphones, remain exempt, while negotiations on sector-specific issues would continue. Well, in a significant development following the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, the centre has moved swiftly to ensure continuity in the Education Ministry. Acting on the advice of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President Draupadi Murmu has assigned the additional charge of the Ministry of Education to Cabinet Minister Pralhad Joshi, who will continue to hold his existing portfolio. He currently holds the Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, and new and renewable energy portfolios. Listen in to what he had to say about the decision taken.
I accept this responsibility with sense of duty and humility, and I am thankful to the Prime Minister, and under the guidance of the Prime Minister, I will try to perform to the best of my capacity under Prime Minister's guidance.
The appointment comes after weeks of unprecedented student protests that culminated in Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation over the alleged NEET paper leak and examination irregularities. The month-long agitation led by the Cockroach Janata Party ended after the third round of talks with the centre following the government's acceptance of the protesters' key demands. Soon after the breakthrough, the protest at Jantar Mantar in Delhi was officially called off. At the press conference after the meeting, the CJP leaders said that all of their demands have been accepted by the government. In fact, government representatives reassured that the 5-point charter presented by the CJP will now be considered.
हम एजुकेशन के एग्जामिनेशन के रिफॉर्म्स के लिए जो आपका चार्टर है उस पर हम गहन चिंतन भी करेंगे और आपके डेलीगेशन के साथ बातचीत करके जो कुछ भी हम डेलिब्रेट कर सकेंगे वो हम करने का प्रयास करेंगे। तो ये इनकी डिमांड्स थी। मेरे ख्याल से इन्होंने जो डिमांड्स रखी थी उन सबको सरकार ने सहानुभूतिपूर्वक माना भी है और एक्सेप्ट भी किया
है। वो भी शॉर्टली सरकार ने अश्योर किया है कि विड्रॉ हो जाएंगे। साथ साथ इन्होंने ये भी हम लोगों ने एग्री किया है कि फ्यूचर में कोई भी एक्शन नहीं लिया जाएगा किसी भी प्रोटेस्टर के खिलाफ, एंड सीजेपी की जो टीम है, जो ऑर्गेनाइजर्स है, उनके खिलाफ।
Taking responsibility for the crisis, Dharmendra Pradhan announced his resignation just hours ahead of the meet between CJP and the centre, highlighting his commitment towards students, teachers and education reforms for more than 4 decades. He said the aspirations as well as expectations of the country's youth is paramount for him and that he had accepted responsibility since the very beginning. He also expressed anguish over recent July 20th protests, while adding that his resignation is to protect the interests and future of India's youth. Leader of the opposition Rahul Gandhi responded to the development. Gandhi welcomed the decision, congratulated the youth of the nation and expressed hope that the government would now take concrete steps to reform the education system.
उसको तो जाना ही था और अच्छा है कि वो गया, बट अब कॉन्क्रीट स्टेप्स एजुकेशन सिस्टम को बदलने की सरकार को लेने पड़ेंगे।
Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge described the development as victory for millions of young Indians demanding reform in the education system. Former Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal termed the resignation a victory for democracy. Activist Sonam Wangchuk, whose 26-day hunger strike helped galvanize the movement, also welcomed the development and credited India's youth generation for sustaining the nationwide campaign.
इस आंदोलन को ज़रूरत पड़े और कुछ आगे लेना हो या फिर अभी रोकना हो, जो भी करें बहुत ही शांति से करें। मैं उम्मीद करता हूं सरकार से कि इस बदलाव के साथ ही बहुत से और बदलाव भी लाएंगे शासन चलाने के तरीकों में भी।
Responding to the resignation of Pradhan, Union Home Minister Amit Shah said that the country, youth and students are far more important than any position. Shah also added that the Modi government respects the sentiments of the country's youth and is committed to implementing the necessary reforms. Delhi police meanwhile has removed all roadblocks and barricades across the protest site at Jantar Mantar after CJP called off its month-long agitation. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels have launched missile and drone salvos against Saudi Arabia's oil facilities as fighting between allies of the US and Iran intensified and opened a new front. In a video statement, military spokesperson said that the rebels targeted sites operated by Saudi oil giant Aramco in Jazan and Yanbu, which was, it said, in response to Saudi airstrikes on strategic Red City of Hodeidah. Earlier, rebels media had said a strike on Jazan had sparked fires. Also, videos circulating on social media showed dark clouds rising above a refinery belonging to Aramco in the city. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, made no direct comment on the attack, but the kingdom's civil defense issued warnings for Jazan on the kingdom's southwestern coast, as well as in Yanbu to the north. A surface-to-air battery operated by Greek personnel in Saudi Arabia downed 2 ballistic missiles and later a drone launched from the Yemeni side. As the fighting escalated on the new front, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that there was no military solution to the escalating conflict between Saudi Arabia and the Tehran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen as well as in Bab al-Mandeb. Araghchi insisted that Tehran could not be blamed for the situation and called for dialogue. The renewed conflict between the Houthis in Yemen and Saudi Arabia, which had largely been frozen since a UN negotiated truce in 2022, flared up this month when the rebels declared a blockade of Saudi ports and claimed attacks on tankers. Parallelly, there have been no reports of US strikes on Iran for first time in 2 weeks after 13 consecutive nights of bombing. A spokesperson for the country's health ministry confirmed that there were no new attacks on Saturday. With this, the US forces had paused strikes against Iran on Friday night. However, Iraqi air defenses did shoot down a drone near the US consulate in Iraq's Erbil. Despite the pause in hostilities, President Donald Trump has said that the country is locked and loaded. According to Jerusalem Post, Trump added that Washington could escalate its military campaign to a much higher level if necessary, but that his preferred option remains a negotiated agreement. Iran's Revolutionary Guards have also issued a fresh warning to UK, saying that the country could become a definitive and legitimate target if it supports the US in any war with Tehran. They added that US bombers had recently used British airfields. On the other hand, Iranian oil minister said that Tehran stole $18 billion worth of oil during war and subsequent ceasefire with the US. The minister said that the sale generated more than 60% of oil revenue forecast in Iran's annual budget. He added that reduced risks to tanker traffic helped boost exports, allowing Iran to sell some of the estimated 100 million barrels of crude oil and gas held in storage. The US Central Command has said that US naval blockade against Iran remains in full effect. CENTCOM also released a video which showed boarding operation on a Comoros-flagged MT Charminar in the Arabian Sea. The statement added that US forces redirected 12 commercial vessels trying to run the blockade, disabled 2 that did not comply, and boarded 2 to ensure total compliance. While authorities in Russia say that 12 people, including 4 children, have been killed following an overnight attack by Ukrainian forces. This latest strike comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky claimed that his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, is preparing to send new Russians off to war. The latest attack took place on a holiday camp in the Russian-occupied territory of Zaporizhia. Visuals that surfaced show several wreckages of cars and ruins of destroyed buildings. Russian investigators continue to probe the incident near a swimming pool of a bombarded tourist site. Amidst the latest strike, Ukraine's Special Operations Police Battalion could be seen patrolling the village located in southeast of Zaporizhia. The armed troops could be seen firing at a drone near the village as well. The region has been under constant attack from Russian FPV drones and guided bombs. Ukraine's Special Operations Police Battalion said that fiber optic drones keep flying into the area almost every day. They added that the drones are being launched from the Russian-controlled part of Zaporizhia. Following this, Moscow has accused Kiev of deliberately attacking civilians. A Russian official even said that another 19 people have been injured near the town of Melitopol, located on the coast of Azov Sea. Ukraine continued its assault as its armed forces struck a Russian warship in the Caspian Sea, with the Ukrainian president saying that the armed forces struck Iranian vessels used in military cargo shipments with long-range strikes. Zelensky, however, did not provide additional details. In response to this, Iran's foreign ministry has confirmed and condemned the attack. In fact, he has condemned the attack on the latest in the region, with Iran saying that the strike triggered an explosion that killed 1 sailor and injured another. Iran called the attack as an act of aggression and said that it would condemn it by all means. And defend the national interest and security. Tehran has also accused Kiev of expanding its war with Moscow. Following the attacks, Ukrainian President Zelensky has claimed that Russian president is preparing to send more Russians off to war and has urged allies to put more pressure on Moscow to end the conflict, while adding that Ukraine's long-range strikes are hitting deep inside Russia.
Putin is preparing to simply send new Russians off to war. He's disguising it with other words and signals, but he's preparing. It's important that we and our partners are able to put enough pressure on Russia so that thoughts of ending this aggression become dominant, thoughts of peace, not of further Russian mobilization.
Furthermore, Zelensky has claimed that Russia is planning to bring in 30,000 North Korean troops to take part in the war.
We also see Russia's cooperation with North Korea. Russia wants to bring in another 30,000 North Korean troops. Preparations have been underway in Russia's Voronezh region since June to receive them. In addition, North Korea is preparing to supply Russia with new launchers for ballistic missiles.
Meanwhile, several regions in Russia are facing acute fuel shortages in the midst of the raging war. Reports citing Russian Deputy Prime Minister claimed that parts of Siberia are experiencing fuel supply problems. He added that a ban on gasoline exports will be extended till the end of the year. The Deputy Prime Minister also said that a ban on diesel exports will be lifted as the markets recover. While the war continues between Russia and Ukraine, Kazakhstan has said that a peace deal could be reached upon if both Russia and Ukraine decided to halt the conflict and resumed negotiations. Speaking alongside Russian President at a Russia-Kazakhstan forum in Siberian city, Kazakh President said that it is time to freeze the conflict and return to the Istanbul 2.0 formula.
If I may offer my humble opinion, since I have been asked, perhaps it is time to freeze this conflict and return to the Istanbul Formula 2.0, given the significant results achieved there, then, naturally, with security guarantees from the great powers, including Russia, we could move forward toward a long-awaited peace.
Authorities have launched a major manhunt after a car struck pedestrians on the outskirts of Berlin's Gay Pride celebrations. One person has been killed and more than a dozen others have been injured. In fact, this incident happened at Tiergarten Park near the iconic Brandenburg Gate. Hundreds of thousands of people had gathered peacefully for the Christopher Street Day celebrations, which is one of Europe's largest LGBTQ events, before the apparent attack brought it to an abrupt end. Visuals on your screens show evacuations after attendees were ordered to leave the area, with a number of emergency services vehicles already at the scene. Berlin mayor called the incident an attack on their free and open-minded society, while German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has called it a horrific attack. In a statement, he said that he and his interior minister would push to make sure that the incident is fully investigated. Germany has in recent years seen several violent attacks at public spaces, which includes a stabbing incident in February last year at Berlin's Holocaust Memorial, which is at stone's throw from the scene of the latest incident site. Neuroscientists from different age groups have collated a set of recommendations on how to protect our brains from dementia. From following a specific dietary regime to prioritizing sleep, the neuroscientists have listed everyday habits to protect from dementia. While dementia affects over 10 million people every year, a 67-year-old professor of psychiatry at Dr. Gil Livingston prioritizes protecting heart and metabolic health. She eats oatmeal porridge and follows the MIND diet to control cholesterol. MIND diet contains oily fish, fruit, vegetables, and olive oil, including nuts and berries, which are rich in polyphenols and other constituents. She tracks 11,000 daily steps, lifts weights twice a week, and regularly monitors her blood pressure. A 58-year-old neurologist focuses on resistance training and cardio to stimulate brain protective mycones that are specialized proteins and peptides released by skeletal muscle cells that act as chemical messengers to communicate with other organs. This scientist drinks green tea for antioxidants, tracks blood pressure, and takes targeted supplements. Another 43-year-old neurologist has a different approach. Daily, he solves Sudoku puzzles to train his short-term memory and focus. He eats oily fish for omega-3 building blocks and strictly prioritizes sleep timing aligned with the circadian rhythms. Meanwhile, a neuroscientist in his 40s writes 400 words of unedited thoughts every morning at a cafe. She delays checking emails until noon and takes regular nature walks and 5-minute dance breaks. Youngest among all is a 34-year-old neuroscientist and author who uses an app locker to automatically turn off phone apps at 7 p.m. to avoid doom scrolling. She practices structured sleep training to get 8 to 9 hours nightly and engages in continuous adult learning like playing the guitar and even harmonica. America's debt problem has stopped being a talking point, and for the US Federal Reserve, it's getting out of control. We decode the spiral and the pace of debt surge compounding faster than anything in this next report. Take a look.
America's total gross national debt stands at a record $39.39 trillion currently. That's up $2.81 trillion in just 1 year. That's roughly $7.71 billion added every single day. Here's the part that should worry Washington more than the headline number: the cost of servicing that record debt. Net interest payments have ballooned from $345 billion in fiscal 2020 to over $1 trillion now. That is a 190% jump in 6 years. Interest payments already exceed what America spends on Medicare and Medicaid combined, trailing only Social Security. As a share of GDP, interest costs have surged from 1.6% in 2021 to a record 3.2% in 2025, and CBO projects that climbing to 4.6% by 2036. So that suggests interest alone would consume 1/4 of all federal revenue by then versus 1/5 today. The math is simple and brutal. Debt is compounding faster than the economy that's supposed to service it. The new tax and spending law, signed on July 4th, is projected to add nearly $6.9 trillion to the debt over the coming decade. Tariff revenue has jumped to 20% year-on-year to $190 billion, but it still hasn't closed the gap. So, who's buying the ocean of treasury paper? Increasingly, not central banks. A record 45% of central banks now plan to raise gold reserves in 2026, the highest share since the World Gold Council survey began in 2018. 74% expect a moderate to significant drop in their dollar holdings. BRICS Plus nations now hold 17.4% of global gold reserves, that's up from 11.2% in 2019. That is a direct hedge against dollar dependence. This leaves one buyer of last resort standing: the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. When foreign official demand fades and deficits keep widening, monetization becomes the default mechanism and not fiscal discipline. That's the story markets are quietly pricing into gold, not politicians. Business Bureau, WION, World is One.
American actor Kevin Hart is back with another comedy, and this time he's bringing a fresh dose of humor along with him. The cast of 72 Hours came together in New York for the very film's premiere. Leaving you with this report.
latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Redi Francis for WION The World is One.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and